Today I'm going to be building this Keezer collar. Here's an example of what a Keezer is. All it is basically a freezer with a little wooden collar around it with some treated wood and then some nice wood on the outside, and then you can put some taps that connect up to kegs that are sitting in the freezer. I started by cutting the 2x6 treated lumber down to size. I use treated wood because since it's going to be on the inside, it's going to be really close to moisture. After drilling some pilot holes in the longer 2x6s, it was time to go ahead and screw them together. I used a couple 90-degree clamps here, and then also checked with a carpenter square to make sure I had a 90-degree angle. The good thing is that there was a little bit of flex in it, so that way I could take my time and then also use the outer wood as a helper for that 90-degree frame. Now it's time to cut the 45-degree miters in the outer pieces of red oak. I chose red oak because I like the way it looks and it's got a nice appeal, especially whenever it's stained and finished. This was my first time using my biscuit joiner. I really liked the way that it performed. I decided to use biscuits because I heard a lot about how easy it was to create that 45-degree joint, or most joints for that matter, and after the glue up it actually worked really well and it went together real smoothly. I know I'm using box joint cauls here on those front corners. I wasn't too worried about the impressions that those would make because I was going to put some trim around it. Now it was time to cut the wood for the top of the collar. I used 1x4 pieces of red oak and then cut them at 45-degree angles so that way I could get a nice joint for the top. Now it was time to glue the 1x4 top together. I shot this part of the video before I had my biscuit joiner. If I had the biscuit joiner I would have done it, but I made do and I just clamped the boards to my workbench and it worked out pretty well. I wanted to put some detail on these joints in the corners, so I decided to inlay some African mahogany. I used a 1/4 inch router bit and then cut it about maybe an 1/8 inch, maybe 3/16 of an inch deep. I used a bigger piece of scrap wood to get even clamping pressure. This setup where I'm getting ready to wrap the inlay, I'm using my carpenter square and my 2-foot long aluminum ruler. It worked out really well and it was nice to get that 45-degree angle on there. I had to use the aluminum ruler because I needed a longer guide for the router to go along, because that carpenter square is only about 8 inches or so on the diagonal and it didn't really help me out much. I would have used a hand plane here to trim that piece of mahogany down, but I didn't have any, so I just made do with my chisel. If anyone has any comments, I guess, about what kind of plane to get, I would definitely love to hear them because I have not bought any yet. I wanted to smooth out the edges on this top piece so that way no one got cut or got hurt on them. So I used a 1/4 inch roundover bit with my router and then just went all the way around on the top side and the bottom. To attach the 2x6 treated pieces to the 1x4 top, I used some glue and then pocket holes, and when I set it up I had to make sure I just drilled in one side first because there was a little bit of flex in the 2x6 piece. I wanted to make sure that I got it nice and square before I drilled in all the other sides. For staining, I used Minwax's Gunstock color because it was a little bit red-orange in tint, and that's kind of what the client wanted. To apply the stain, I used a couple pieces of an old t-shirt. I just used a wipe-on, wipe-off method, and it worked out pretty well. For the clear coat, I used an oil-based polyurethane from Minwax. And here's the finished product. When I get some pictures from the client, I will be sure to upload them somehow in the description and let you guys see what it looks like with some taps on there and then on the actual freezer. As always, thank you guys for watching, and if you have any comments, I'd love to hear them. Any different ways how you might assemble this or do the project, I would love to hear them. I'm always open for critiques. Give it a thumbs up if you like the video, and then subscribe for more woodworking videos. Thanks.